The final chapter of Ozzy Osbourne's life is captured in the new documentary film No Escape from Now, currently streaming on Paramount Plus. Now, before I get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so with that out of the way, I've just finished watching this movie, and it chronicles the years 2018 to July 5th, 2025, which is, of course, back to the beginning, the final farewell show of Ozzy Osbourne. And so my take on it is sort of weird because we know the ending. It's sort of like the Titanic film, right? You know the ending, but getting there is the journey. And there's a lot of drama obstacles that Ozzy goes through because in 2018 he cancels half of his tour because of Parkinson's, and then he goes through a lot of physical and mental kind of pain. You know, he breaks his neck, he falls down, he breaks his neck, and he has to get an operation for his neck, and then they screw that up, and the corrective surgery, it makes it worse, and then, you know, he breaks his vertebrae, he has all these different surgeries and everything, and this is stuff that we didn't get to see or not know about. And we'd see appearances of him. There's 3 appearances, of course. The one being the Commonwealth appearance gig with Tony Iommi. He just sings Paranoid. That's back at Birmingham, his hometown. Then there was the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was last year, and of course the big show at the end. Now, there's 3 things that I take, that I get from this film, and that is the music being one story of how it helps Ozzy Osbourne, whether he's recording or he is performing. His ailments and everything seem to disappear when he's in his element, whether he was writing songs, lyrics, or whatever. And the second would be the relationship with him and Andrew Watt. He was the young producer who comes in there and he pretty much saves Ozzy because his mental state of depression, of just being with no purpose, just sitting around and you know, thinking, pondering death. You know, you get to the point sometimes in this film where he just really doesn't care about living and everything. And so him coming in there, and they developed this great friendship. And Andrew Watt is somebody who doesn't make friends. He says he doesn't. He's all, you know, I just produce people, and when the job is done, if the job is done, if there is a connection, hey, that would be cool. But most of the time he said no. But he made a really deep connection with Ozzy Osbourne. He did study, you know, the Sabbath stuff prior to meeting him and everything, and but they just became really close. And working on the 2 albums here, the first one being Ordinary Man, and what Jack Osbourne calls this album here, it's not an Ozzy Osbourne album. He calls it a John Osbourne album. It's pretty personal. And of course, the Patient Number 9 album. Now, how he got together with Ozzy Osbourne is funny because I remember when Post Malone put out a song with Ozzy, and everyone's like, hey, that's an odd pairing. And that has a lot to do with the story because Post and Andrew were hanging out, and Post had bought a picture of Ozzy Osbourne and just kind of asked him, hey, would you make a song with Ozzy? And he's like, yeah, I would. And, you know, Andrew Watt started calling Kelly and to see if he could get Ozzy to record, but his health was always, you never knew what you were gonna get. So but most of the time when he called, she said no, he can't make it. He's on no condition to do that. But then one time Ozzy just said, no, let's go. And once he went there and sang on Post Malone song, then things changed. That's when as Kelly would say, the magic happened, and he was feeling like on fire again. And Chad Smith of the Chili Peppers said, "Hey, let's just make a new whole album or whatever." And so they started making music together. And so a lot of this material that he's writing, the lyrics and everything, is stemming from this dark place of Ozzy, where there's patient number 9, where he's just kind of talking about, well, it's described in the movie as Ozzy being this big rock star and everything is great, traveling and touring, but it just all stops. And how he sees his life now, I'm just a patient. I'm just someone who's sick every day, who's taking medication. I'm not Ozzy the rock star anymore. So that was kind of how he was thinking, and how he was kind of reflecting on his life. And so he's just a patient now. And so, yeah, this music here is really cool, and it really kind of chronicles this film. This is the soundtrack pretty much. Some of the songs on here and here. It's really cool. And the last part of the film, of course, going all the way up to the big show, and how he had to cancel his tour because he was progressively getting worse, and he was declining in everything. And so he knew he wasn't going to tour anymore. And in the film they make that announcement. And I remember the announcement. Oh, Ozzy is just retired from touring, but we get to see what has transpired for them to make that decision and make that choice. And he was in a really bad place. So you finally get to see the story of how it really happened, other than just being on the outside looking in kind of thing. And so going up to the final show, and seeing all these other artists that came to help out and be part of, it's sort of just like this this Marvel movie of calling all these superheroes together, and it was really cool. And so Ozzy does get to say goodbye the way he wants to say goodbye. So so it has that big ending, that triumphant ending, which is really cool, where they show him kind of rising up to the audience, to the stage and everything. So my takeaway on this movie was that it wasn't just going to be just Ozzy just declining throughout the film, and this is going to be depressing. And there's some really highs and lows in this film, and especially the moment when the rehearsal, I'll just say that, the rehearsal of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, where Ozzy is sitting there and having to listen to the medley that people are going to be performing for him. It was a great moment in that film, in that part. But there's a lot of things also that you kind of just find out, or just little things that just kind of appear, like Ozzy's thoughts on Ronnie James Dio. So he felt really bad about Ronnie James Dio, and so they kind of talk about that, because he would just sit around and just watch interviews of Dio, and just little quirky things is really cool. But all in all, it was an entertaining film. What makes a great documentary is the transparency, and Ozzy is really good at just putting it all out there. He doesn't care, just like his the other Ozzy Osbourne documentary, which I talked about before, God Bless Ozzy Osbourne, about his recovery, getting sober. That was a great film, but this is also a great film for the final chapter of Ozzy Osbourne's life, and how he went out triumphantly, exiting the stage and exiting the world. And so please leave me a comment below what your thoughts are. If you haven't